2 weeks ago, I noticed a new Facebook page that was interesting to me. It's called Guns Across America, or Wisconsin Guns Across America, and there were a number of different states cropping up. The event began growing very widely and steadily from a handful on the weekend of the 5th, I believe it was, to around 300 who planned to attend in Madison by Tuesday the 15th. On the 15th, had a conversation with Scott Hamilton. They needed an inspiring talk on education and the Second Amendment, and asked me if I would speak, and I did for 10 to 12 minutes, actually probably closer to 12 to 15 minutes at the podium. And I got a great response. And basically what the message was the Freedom Project Education and the role of education in teaching the Constitution and the foundations of the Constitution, American heritage and history, and particularly as it pertains to the Second Amendment and how the Second Amendment is such a pivotal part of the support for all of our other rights that are listed in the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Shortly after that, I returned to the podium. I returned to the podium, and while they were waiting for another speaker to arrive, I was able to address the crowd about the importance of the protection of our children in schools and everywhere, really, and the advantage of being armed and prepared in such situations. I pointed out that the people in every mass shooting that we've seen in this country were either in public or government businesses, institutions, or places, all of which were gun-free zones, so-called, and they were under the protection or public protection, if you will, of the police or sheriff's department or other officials. But by default, those institutions, as the protection, were not able to protect them. And in those public places or government places that did not allow firearms, the protection of the government had failed miserably. And I contrasted that with the many events where private citizens with arms and the right to use them, training, etc., had been able to end similar situations with minimal loss of life or no loss of life, and were able to control the situations in some cases before they even began. And this is one of the key influences. At this event, we were able to hand out a great deal of information about Freedom Project Education, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of information. And after I spoke, I noted that the response of people to the concept of educating our children on these issues was so strong that we literally had people chasing us down through the crowd, following behind us to get the information and take it home with them. Had a lot of great volunteers that helped. We had 9 people there distributing material through the crowd, and I believe nearly everyone there received some of that information. So it was a great day, a good day with a wonderful group of people, very peaceful. And I noted that even the Capitol Police only felt it was necessary to have 2 or 3 officers out there for a group that I would estimate between 800 and 1,000 people. There were only 2 people that I observed who were in opposition to the group that was there that day, 2 people carrying signs that one of them had a sign that said, "Keep your guns away from my children." And I noted that one of the speakers addressed that sign and said, you know, if I had been at Sandy Hook in Connecticut, if I had been in the school or in the vicinity and I had discovered that there was a madman shooting children, I'm sorry I wouldn't be able to observe your request. I would have felt obligated to use my firearm to defend your child. And the other sign was outlaw assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and I noticed there were 3 or 4 words misspelled in that description. And when that person was asked by a reporter who was on the scene at the time what kind of firearms or what was the description or the nomenclature of the firearms that she wanted outlawed, she had no idea. She had no knowledge of firearms at all, no concept of what an assault weapon was or what made it an assault weapon or what kinds of things about the firearm that there were that she wanted outlawed, and the things that she mentioned were very common to almost all firearms. And when she was asked about magazines, she really had no knowledge even of what a magazine did. So it was pretty apparent the people that were there to protest the incursions against our Second Amendment rights were very knowledgeable and spoke often and had signs that were very pertinent mentioning quotations from the Founding Fathers, etc. And the two people who were there protesting had absolutely no knowledge of firearms or our history or heritage, and were very sadly uninformed. There were a number of different media outlets there, but there was very little media about the event in particular in the state that I'm aware of. There were a couple of interviews, and oddly enough, with 1,000 people there, the people they seemed to concentrate on were the anti-firearms people who were there. Most of the purpose was to organize people against further incursions on our Second Amendment rights. And they did plan several other meetings. The website itself has been kind of abuzz with several meetings that are planned for the future. And a number of local organizations were sort of roughly put together at the site and later. So I think it was pretty obvious that it's going to lead to more activism and more involvement as time goes by.